BlackRock's holdings are about to hit 110,000 Bitcoin. Saylor buys more. Bitcoin ETFs are going to flip in gold. And Robert Kiyosaki predicts $100,000 Bitcoin in the next 3 months. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Crypto Daily. Been a little bit since the last one. As you can tell, I've got a little bit of a cold that I've been pushing through. So bear with me as my throat tries to keep up. So first piece of news today, actually, while I was doing all the other pieces of news, Bitcoin started to move. So Bitcoin's up over 53,000 now, and we're just seeing just a nice spike upwards. The general market is doing pretty well also, but as you'll see as we talk about in this episode, Bitcoin ETFs and general excitement around the halvening are definitely the cause of Bitcoin's rally. Not just recently, but in the past couple weeks. So BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF holdings have constantly been increasing. We're seeing a lot of net inflows to BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust. So quoted from this Bitcoin.com article, Bitcoin ETF has a total net inflow of nearly $5 billion, leading the pack among all Bitcoin ETFs. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink has stated that he is now a big Bitcoin believer. So you can, if you watch these inflows every single day, you literally just see it only go up and to the right for BlackRock. Michael Saylor gave an interview recently, and this article quotes him. I think the assets found its footing, and now people are beginning to realize that there's 10 times as much demand for Bitcoin coming through these ETFs as there is supply coming from miners. So obviously, that's a pretty bullish statement for the current state of things. And then knowing that, in 2 months, we're going to be seeing, half as much Bitcoin actually come from the miners. So 20 times as much demand coming from the ETFs than is being sold by miners potentially after the halvening. So definitely exciting time for Bitcoin to have this Bitcoin ETF just months before the halvening. The halvening always gives us that supply shock. And then obviously having that demand shock of ETFs is big news. So Michael Saylor bought more Bitcoin. I don't think any of us are too surprised by that. So Microstrategy filed that they bought another 3,000 Bitcoin for $155 million at an average price of $51,800, obviously up today now that Bitcoin has crossed 53K. So they now have 193,000 Bitcoin, and they paid about $6 billion for it at an average price of $31,000. So, when Bitcoin hits 62K, they'll be up, excuse me, like I said, dealing with bad cold. They'll be up 2x when we see Bitcoin kind of cross back to all-time highs, which is around 69,000. So definitely bullish for MicroStrategy. I mean, they've just been crushing it while a lot of people were giving them shit all those years of accumulating Bitcoin. Now, those naysayers are nowhere to be found. Typical in the crypto market. So gold versus Bitcoin, this is a narrative that has been around for a long time. It's actually one that I've believed in since the day I started buying Bitcoin, like 8 years ago. And that is that Bitcoin is digital gold, and one day Bitcoin's market cap will be bigger than gold's. And my thesis for that has never been that gold's market cap was going to go down significantly while Bitcoin rose. My thesis was, gold has kind of a stable, steadily growing market cap, as is its nature as a store of value, but that Bitcoin would ultimately, grow in use case and adoption and eventually flip in gold's market cap, just because I think it's a superior store of value to gold. And there's like those 5 key reasons that I'm sure most of you know for why Bitcoin is a better store of value than gold. Obviously, I think there are 2 different things. I think there's definitely a place in a portfolio where you could have some gold and also have some Bitcoin. I know that I prefer Bitcoin over gold. I think most young investors will prefer Bitcoin over gold. And I think you're starting to see a lot of Wall Street also say that Bitcoin might be a better store of value than gold. It's a lot easier to move, a lot easier to store, self-custody, all that. Excuse me again. So like I said, this thesis and this narrative has been heating up. One thing that I thought was interesting from this tweet from Bitcoin Magazine is that this analyst was talking about how gold ETFs have about $100 billion in assets under management. And after just, it's been, I think about, it says here 6 weeks since the ETFs for Bitcoin launched, we're already at $10 billion in assets under management. So a 10x from here would mean that Bitcoin ETFs now have more assets under management than gold ETFs. I think that's going to be a huge moment for Bitcoin. Obviously, the thing I'm looking for and that I've been predicting since I started buying Bitcoin was that one day Bitcoin's market cap would flip gold's market cap. So I think, that would still mean, about a 10x from here. It puts Bitcoin somewhere around $400,000 or $500,000 per Bitcoin. I haven't done the math in the past, couple months or years. But that has been my target for Bitcoin in the long run. And I think we're starting to see a lot of key elements piece out for that. So Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, very famous in the investing and business world. He has been a believer in Bitcoin for a couple of years now. He's also been a big proponent of gold. Sorry, again. Big proponent of gold, big proponent of silver. But recently he's been talking about the decline of gold and silver and the rise of Bitcoin and how he's becoming more and more bullish on Bitcoin. So he's predicting $100,000 Bitcoin by June, which is about 3 months away. So we'll see if he's right. I don't put a ton of weight into anyone's predictions. Nobody knows what's going to happen in the short term. Like I said, from the day I started buying Bitcoin, my long-term prediction was always one day Bitcoin's market cap will be more than gold's, and that puts Bitcoin somewhere around $400,000 or $500,000 per Bitcoin. That is my long-term target. We're still 10x away from that being a reality. So, he says he sees Bitcoin hitting 150,000 soon, 100,000 by June. Tim Draper has doubled down on his $250,000 Bitcoin price prediction for this year. And I know that, Pomp, which is he's a well-known crypto, figurehead. He keeps talking about $100,000 Bitcoin by the end of the year. So, if you want a short-term target, I think $100,000 by the end of the year is pretty likely, given the halvening and the excitement about the ETF and the actual inflows of the ETF. So that's my, I generally side with $100,000 Bitcoin by the end of this year. But again, short-term predictions, never something that I really like to, trade around. So it's not really changing my strategy at all. But it is nice to think about $100,000 Bitcoin. Personally, I'm still buying. I bought some this morning. I will keep buying. And, it's just a long-term dollar cost averaging strategy, based around the fundamentals of an investor like Warren Buffett, who does it with companies he believes in. Obviously, just applying that framework to Bitcoin. So that kind of gets me into the last point. What's your... Sorry again. Probably the last time for this episode. What's your long-term TLDR strategy for this cycle? Leave a comment below. I kind of want to hear from you guys what you are doing in this cycle to, make the most of your crypto portfolio. I kind of told you a little bit about mine, dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin over the long term, and just, that long-term price target I've always had of flipping gold, in 10 years or something. That's always been my long-term target. So buying at 50K, obviously still a bargain. Even if you see it just going to 100K, that's, a 2x better than you're going to see really anywhere else. And then in terms of altcoins, I talk about Rune a lot, active on the Hive blockchain, and then obviously building, my own project in the space. So, I've got my major Bitcoin bag, and then slowly accumulating more and more Bitcoin. I've got my altcoin bags, and that is my general strategy for this cycle. But let me know what yours is. Leave a comment below. Hopefully by tomorrow's Crypto Daily, I'll have a better, control over this cough. So thanks for listening. Catch you next time.